Baseball has revamped its statistical history, and the man who's responsible for this, he is the official historian of Major League Baseball, John Thorn, who joins us. John, explain what you've been doing and how long you've been doing it to get to this point today.
Of course, Dan. First of all, to indicate that many hands have made light the work, I am by no means the most important person in this entire scenario. It's people like Larry Lester and Gary Ashwell and Kevin Johnson who have been the diggers, who have been reading black newspapers on microfilm and microfiche for decades. And now some of that has been digitized. But it is the research effort that we memorialized with the committee to review Negro League statistics, whereby we set some policies for leaderboards, in particular, single season leaderboards and career leaderboards that have upturned the baseball world.
Okay. Do you have to have, for something to be validated, you have to have a box score to have?
Absolutely, you have to have
Okay.
the box score.
Okay.
Because, as you know, baseball is a double entry accounting system whereby every out made at the plate is reflected in an out made in the field, either a pitcher catcher strikeout or a grounder to short that's an assist for the shortstop and a put out for the first baseman. Absent that balance, and if we started to intrude anecdotal evidence into the database, the balance of MLB's history since 1876 would be destroyed.
What has changed as far as an individual like Josh Gibson or an individual category season? Give us the statistical fallout from this.
The leaderboards will have changed, and Josh Gibson is the single season leader in batting average and slugging and OPS. But he's already been memorialized in bronze at the Baseball Hall of Fame, like many of his others. But there are 2,300 players, some of whom were in for a cup of coffee or an inconsequential season in a league that didn't last very long. And it's these players, these individuals, whose families can now point to their name in the record book and say, he was a major leaguer.
How many home runs did Josh Gibson officially hit?
Officially, I believe the number is 174 in league play. His Hall of Fame plaque reads that he hit nearly 800 in some combination of league and independent ball. But independent ball is barnstorming ball, and you never know what the quality of the opposition was, whether it's semi-pro, whether it's amateur, because the Negro Leagues, with their shortened seasons, their shortened league seasons, were compelled to play lots of games, more so than MLB, in order to keep the revenue stream flowing.
Will there be asterisks in the record books?
There'll be no asterisks, just as the prospect of an asterisk alongside Roger Maris's 61 homers way back when never was actualized. It is MLB policy that there is one continuous record from 1876 to the present day, and not a single statistic bears an asterisk or a footnote.
And it's not just the Negro Leagues. There are other leagues that are incorporated in this whole process?
Sure, there are defunct major leagues, and many of our listeners will not have heard of the American Association as a 10-year major, 1882 to 1891, or the Union Association of 1884, or the Players League of 1890, or the Federal League of 1914 and 15. But these leagues were deemed to be major league caliber back in 1969, and all of those players' records are in the database.
He is the official historian of Major League Baseball, John Thorn. That's a pretty good title there. Do you have a business card?
I do have a business.
Nice. I like that.
I sometimes hand it to my wife.
What's the coolest thing in your library there?
The coolest thing might be the oil painting of Jim Bouton, my pal.
Okay.
or the Knickerbocker pennant, which was the first flag flown over the Knickerbocker Baseball Club clubhouse in 1855.
You remember when Ball 4 came out with Jim Bouton? If
I
that
sure
came out
do.
now, that would be like nobody would even think twice. But back then in 1970, it's like, oh my gosh, here's an athlete who is spilling on his teammates and what it's like on the road.
And it was an athlete's own voice. It was not a ghost-written job, as so many of the player autobiographies or the Christy Mathewson books, the King Kelly books, the Cap Anson books, they were all ghosted.
It's great to talk to you, John. Congratulations on the process and everybody else in this. Did Babe Ruth actually call his shot in the World
Uh,
Series?
no, there is some 8 millimeter footage of the Babe, and he's pointing to the Cubs clubhouse where he was being razzed. And if you view this footage from the wrong perspective, you think he's pointing to center field, but he wasn't. It
Ah,
was a joke for Ruth too.
oh, all right. You kind of ruined that story there, John. Thanks for joining us, and again, congratulations to everybody involved in this.
My pleasure, Dan.
That's John Thorn, the official historian of Major League Baseball.